I always avoided drama. I wasn't one for petty fights, didn't believe in revenge, and figured karma would handle things. But some people force your hand. My cousin Jessica, not her real name, though I wish I could call her out, was one of those people. I had always been the responsible one. After landing a solid marketing job, I moved to Chicago, excited to be independent. The city was expensive though, and I knew splitting rent would be the smarter move. Enter Jessica. She was family, a few years younger, fresh off a finding herself trip abroad, and eager to move to the city. The problem? She had little savings. I just need a place until I get on my feet, she said. Fine. Family is family. The beginning of the downward spiral at first, things were okay. I paid rent, and Jessica occasionally covered groceries. Then, I realized Jessica never intended to contribute fairly. Whenever I asked her to chip in, she'd sigh dramatically. You make more, it's only fair you cover more. Gas? Me? Internet? Me? Electricity? Me? Water? You guessed it, me. At first, I justified it. She was job hunting. But then she landed a job, and suddenly her expenses shifted to yoga classes, a self-care routine, and weekend trips to clear her head. I should have kicked her out then, but the final straw, that came 3 months in. The unexpected guest one night, I came home to a strange pair of shoes by the door. Inside, a guy was lounging on my couch. Jessica bounced in, all smiles. Oh, this is Adam, my boyfriend. He's staying here for a while. Hope that's cool. It was not cool. I told her if he was staying he was paying rent. Jessica laughed, not an awkward or nervous laugh, but a you can't be serious kind of laugh. Come on, you can afford it. Besides, he's between jobs. I wanted to scream. Instead, I smiled, nodded, and said sure. That night, I set my plan in motion. The perfect revenge. Step 1, check the lease. My name was the only one on it, I had full control. Step 2, utility accounts. All under my name. For the next month, I stayed polite. I paid for everything. I let them get comfortable. Jessica and Adam treated the place like their personal paradise, blasting the AC, taking hour-long showers, using my Netflix. I let it all happen. Then, on the first of the month, they came home to a notice taped to the door and a key that no longer worked. Jessica screamed. Adam cursed. They stormed into my room, waving the paper. What the hell is this? I looked up calmly. Oh yeah, I moved out. Jessica's face twisted. You can't do that. We live here too. I leaned back. Actually, you don't. The lease is in my name. I ended it. You have 3 days to leave, Jessica shrieked. Adam puffed up his chest. We're not going anywhere. I smirked, pulling out my phone. Cool, I already called the cops. See, in Chicago, if you're not on the lease, you have 0 tenant rights. And since I had already given official notice, I was fully within my rights to evict them. The cops arrived. Jessica cried. Adam tried to act tough but had no argument. The aftermath, or so I thought. Jessica and Adam packed their things and left. They had nowhere to go. Turns out, Adam was just as much of a leech as she was. As for me, I moved into a new place, alone, and I have never let anyone take advantage of me like that again. Sometimes, revenge isn't about shouting or fighting. Sometimes, it's just about knowing the system better than they do and using it. And damn, did it feel good. I thought it was over. I thought I had moved on. Then, I saw the email. It was from a new address, but I knew immediately who it was. From Jessica. You ruined me. I lost everything. You think you won? You think this is over? I read it twice, feeling the hatred dripping off the screen. I should have ignored it. I should have blocked her. But I didn't. Instead, I made a mistake. I replied with 2 words: move on. The escalation begins a week later. I woke up to find my car vandalized. Not just scratched deep, angry letters carved into the paint. Payback. I clenched my fists. I knew it was Jessica. Who else could it be? I called the police and filed a report. But with no cameras in the parking lot, there was nothing they could do. I had no proof. And I knew one thing for sure: Jessica wasn't done. The break-in 2 days later, I came home late and immediately sensed something was off. The door was locked. No signs of forced entry. But as soon as I stepped inside, my stomach dropped. My closet door was open. I never leave it open. I checked my space. My laptop was gone. So was my spare car key. My drawers had been pulled out, rummaged through. I called the cops again. But since nothing was technically broken, they weren't much help. Either Jessica had a copy of my key, impossible, or she had picked the lock. I had no proof. But I had a plan. Setting the trap the next day, I did two things: changed my locks. A full replacement, new keys, new everything, installed a hidden camera. I told no one. If Jessica had the nerve to break in once, she'd do it again. This time, I'd catch her. And a week later she took the bait. The footage: I was at work when my phone buzzed. A motion alert from my hidden camera. I opened the app and there she was, Jessica. In my apartment. She wasn't stealing. She wasn't trashing the place. She was just standing there, staring at my bed. My heart pounded as I watched her pick up my pillow, hold it for a moment, then place it back perfectly. And then she left. I couldn't breathe. This wasn't about money anymore. This wasn't about revenge. Jessica was obsessed. The call for help and another dead end. I called the cops, expecting real action this time. I had proof. Instead, I got the same tired response: since there's no forced entry and nothing was stolen, this isn't technically a crime. Do you know if she has a key? A key. I wanted to scream. I wanted to know I had changed my locks. But they shrugged it off, saying unless I could prove she broke in or stole something, there wasn't much they could do. If she comes back, call us immediately. Great. So I had to wait for her to try again. I hung up. Jessica was watching me. I barely slept that night. Every little sound made my skin crawl. I kept my phone in my hand, checking the camera feed every few minutes. Then, around 2 a.m., I got another notification. I opened the app, expecting to see her inside again. She wasn't. She was outside, standing across the street, just watching my apartment. My stomach twisted. I turned off the lights and peeked through the blinds. She was still there. I don't know how long I stood there staring. 5 minutes? An hour? Eventually she walked away. I needed to do something. The ultimate trap: the police wouldn't help. Jessica wouldn't stop. I needed proof. The next day, I installed a second hidden camera, this time, in the hallway outside my door. If she had a copy of my key, I'd catch her using it. Then, I took a risk. For one night, I left my apartment unlocked. And Jessica took the bait. Jessica's breaking point at 3:17 a.m. My phone buzzed. The hallway camera caught her entering, with a key. My breath caught in my throat as I watched her slip inside. Then, the bedroom camera activated. Jessica walked in calm, too calm. But this time she didn't just stand there. She went to my closet, started going through my clothes. She pulled out one of my shirts, smelled it, and smiled. My whole body froze. Then she laid down on my bed. I slapped a hand over my mouth, panic crawling up my spine. This wasn't revenge. This wasn't anger. This was something worse. Jessica laid there for almost 10 minutes, just staring at the ceiling. Then, just as calmly as she entered, she smoothed out the sheets and left. Like nothing had happened. Like she belonged there. The next move, and a new twist: I wasn't waiting for the cops anymore. The next morning, I went straight to my building's management office. I laid out everything, told them the whole story, and showed them the video. The property manager's face went pale. This wasn't the first complaint about Jessica. Apparently she'd been lurking around the complex for weeks, not just near my unit, but others as well. She had even tried getting into vacant apartments. I felt sick. The property manager assured me they'd ban her from the building. Then, just as I was about to leave, he hesitated. "Wait, what apartment number did you say she lived in?" I told him. His expression shifted. He flipped through some files, muttering under his breath. Then he looked up at me, his face filled with something close to fear. "Jessica was never on your lease." I blinked. "Yeah, I know. I was the only one on it. No, I mean, she was never on any lease. In this building. Ever." I felt my blood turn cold. Jessica was never supposed to be here at all. Which meant, who gave her a key? The truth about Jessica. That question replayed in my mind over and over. Jessica had no legal connection to my apartment. I should have left it at that, chalked it up as another layer of her insanity. But there was something in the way the property manager looked at me, like he was still holding something back. I leaned in. "Tell me everything." He hesitated, then sighed. In a low voice, he said, "Jessica used to come around a lot. Not just when you lived here, before that too. She chatted up security, brought coffee to the maintenance crew. Seemed friendly enough. But there were complaints." I swallowed hard. People said she was watching them, following them into the parking lot. One tenant even reported her trying to unlock their door. My stomach twisted. Then, the property manager lowered his voice further. She told people she lived here, said she had a roommate who was always out of town. We figured maybe she was subletting under the table. Happens all the time. I could barely process what he was saying. So, someone gave her a key. The manager exhaled. Yeah, Jessica had been stalking me long before I even met her. I walked out of that office in a daze. She must have seen the apartment listing, realized I was moving in, and decided to insert herself into my life. This wasn't just a bad roommate situation, this was obsession, and now she had nothing left to lose. The breaking point: I was almost home when my phone buzzed. Another email. You think you're so smart. Do you think you can erase me? I was there first. A chill ran through me. I ran the rest of the way home. I didn't know what to expect. Maybe she'd be waiting, maybe my car would be trashed again. But when I stepped inside, my heart stopped. The smell hit me first. Bleach, sharp, artificial. I stepped forward, my shoes sticking slightly to the floor. My bed was gone. Not just stripped, completely removed. The closet was empty. My dresser drawers were pulled out, their contents dumped onto the floor. And in the middle of the room, a single envelope. My name was scrawled on the front. Hands shaking, I picked it up. Inside was a photo. A picture of me. Asleep. My skin went ice cold. Jessica had taken this while I lived here. While she was in my apartment. I turned the photo over. On the back, written in tiny, precise handwriting, were 4 words: I was always here. I dropped the envelope like it was burning. Then the floorboard creaked. The confrontation. I spun around. Jessica stood in the doorway. She looked different. Not angry, not smug, just calm. You went too far, I said, my voice shaking. You need help. She tilted her head like I had said something ridiculous. I don't need help. Her voice was soft, almost gentle. I need you to understand. I took a step back. Understand what? Her expression darkened. That you don't belong here. Then she lunged. I barely had time to react before she shoved me backward. I crashed into the dresser, knocking over a lamp. The room spun. Jessica grabbed the envelope off the floor, ripping it apart, her breath coming in ragged gasps. You don't get to erase me, she shrieked. Something inside me snapped. You did this to yourself. I shouted. You used me. You took advantage of me. And when I fought back, you lost. That's not my fault. For the first time, her face twisted, hurt, almost like she might cry. Then, her expression hardened. You think this is about money, she whispered. This was never about money. Her hand moved to her jacket. I didn't think. I ran. The immediate aftermath: I barreled out of the apartment, nearly tripping over myself in my rush to the hallway. A neighbor opened their door, startled. I shouted something, maybe call the cops, maybe just a scream. I didn't stop running. Jessica's footsteps pounded behind me too fast. Then hey! Stop. Someone grabbed her. I turned just in time to see a security guard wrestling her to the ground. She thrashed, screaming, but it was over. Minutes later, the police arrived. Jessica was taken away in handcuffs. I never found out what was in her jacket, and honestly, I didn't want to know.